Fight and talk back again, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Bellator ring girl, Monster Energy girl, model. I don't think I've missed anything there. Louise Mckie. Louise, how are you?
Hi guys, I'm great. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time as well. Look, I mean, anybody who's watched Bellator now in the last 4 years will have seen your face. But if we take it right back to the start, that 4 year ago, Utilitaire Arena, Newcastle, the start of the Bellator Europe series. What was that like for you to be there in your home show, and how did that all come about?
So that was actually my first job with Bellator. So before I got into Bellator, I was kind of the average girl. I worked in sales. It's kind of my forte. I worked in car sales, and then I went to be a sales manager at one of the clubs in town. And that's kind of where I made my contact. So when Bellator came to Newcastle, I got an email that was pinged out. And I thought, oh, I'll try my luck with it. I don't have much experience. I think at the time they asked for a large following as well. Didn't have any of that, but I thought, you know what it is, I'll give it a go and see what comes of it. Anyway, got the email back and then I got the job, which was amazing. If I'm honest, I think I was in such a little bubble that I can't really remember the Newcastle show very well. I was just very excited and the night flew by. So yeah, that was my first show. I thought it was just going to be a one-off. I was very grateful to have the opportunity, but I was very lucky that on the night time, the producers really, really liked me being there. And they invited me back to Ireland. And since then, I've never really looked back. Last month was my 4th year with Bellator, and plenty more to go, I think.
You said there about not having much experience. What was that like then, the week going in? Was there any apprehension, any anxiety going into that, knowing that? I mean, I'm sure you've been to the arena for other shows, so you know how big that arena is. Going into it, what was the week of it like?
I mean, for sure, I think it was nerve-wracking. I'm quite a nervous, as much as I pull it off quite well, I'm quite a nervous and anxious person. So yeah, I can imagine I was probably pretty scared to do it. But the one thing I will say, and I've said it to a lot of people, I actually find it a lot easier getting up in front of an arena full of, say, I don't know what my biggest one is, maybe it's 50,000 people, than I do getting up in front of a small crowd. I find that way more intimidating being up in front of fewer people than I do a lot. Obviously, you run the risk of maybe falling over or something in front of 50,000 people, but for some reason, it doesn't really scare me now. And I find it a lot easier to do that than kind of be intimate with a small group. I think maybe it's because when it's a smaller group, you feel like there's more eyes on you and you can actually see people. But yeah, I think I was very excited. And I think because of the adrenaline and the excitement and all is why I can't really remember much of the Newcastle show.
And I mean, you had an amazing first year with Bellator, with that European series going the way it was. But then, of course, March 2020 came around and we had the lockdown, we had COVID. Were you slightly worried that almost it had been too good to be true and that you weren't too sure what was going to happen moving forward? Or how were Bellator as a promotion to keep you, on their books, if you like?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it was a scary time for everyone. I think anyone in any industry didn't know what was going on during that period, and it was pretty terrifying. I remember sitting at home just being like, oh my goodness, what next? Like, what do I do? Obviously Bellator themselves are trying to sort out a few things. They were trying to keep shows going over in the US so they could air them. I know it was done in a small studio, which was fantastic on their half because they kept a lot of the fans entertained with that. But seeing it is a bit disheartening because you see it and you're devastated you're not there and a little bit jealous because you want to be in on the action firsthand. So yeah, when it came round and we had, I think it was Milan we done a 2-week lockdown in Milan after COVID, and then we went straight to Paris to be the first big promotion to put on a cage fight in Paris, which was amazing. It was a very historic moment for Bellator and for me. So yeah, I was over the moon that happened, and I think once that settled in and that was done, I was a little bit calmer and I felt better kind of about the future and going forward. And now I think we're full steam ahead, which is fantastic because I absolutely love the promotion. I love working with the company, and I've probably had the best 4 years of my life, which is great.
And look, of course, we are both from Newcastle. You've mentioned another couple of major cities there as well. But after that lockdown, you've been all around the world with Bellator. For you, what would you say has been the best city you visited, but also with the best crowd you've seen?
So I'll go off the best crowd. That one's easy, and I think a lot of the Bellator team will agree on this one. It has to be our Irish fans in Dublin. It's definitely not one to miss. If you've not been to a Dublin show and you love MMA and you enjoy watching Bellator, I definitely suggest getting yourself down there. It's just incredible. The atmosphere, the fans, nothing beats them. I've never seen such an enthusiastic, passionate group of people. But when it comes to my favourite city, if we're going off just the city and not necessarily the shows, I'd probably say Milan, or of course I've recently been to Japan for the second time, and that's definitely up there with one of my favourites.
And that Dublin show, I mean, I think it's worth going for Peter Queeley's walkout alone, isn't it? It's just...
Yeah, if you know if Peter Queeley's fighting, it's going to be a good night. As soon as zombies come on, I mean, I've been there and he's had his opponent walk out, and you've got the crowd just singing over the opponent's walkout, and it's crazy because you can't hear a word and or anything from the opponent's side other than the crowd going crazy. So yeah, it's really special and it's really something to watch.
On that travelling, you're a young lass in your early 20s. How do you cope? It's a lot of travelling on your own, isn't it? How do you sort of manage that
I think when I first started, obviously it was a little bit daunting. I'd never really done it before. I know my parents at home would be having a heart attack, being like, oh my God, where is she now? But they've got so used to it, and so have I. No one can kind of really keep up with where I am and when. But yeah, I think it took it matures you a lot over the years. You kind of got to learn your safety and be very aware of things in many different countries. Obviously, being a female as well, it's not always the safest environment, but I'm very lucky to have an amazing team. Bellator are very organised kind of with transport and where I need to be and when, so it's a very safe process. But yeah, I suppose in the first year it did take a little bit getting used to, and I had a lot of nightmares, whether it be visas or missed flights or missed luggage, but I kind of got it down to a T now, and yeah, it just comes second nature.
I know, of course, once you're there, you've got that Bellator family with you as well, all the backroom staff, all the social media teams. Yeah. Just what's your relationship like with them? I know in particular, Leah McCourt, you're a great friend with her now.
Yeah. So again, you make great relationship with the fighters. Obviously, you're not just there for fight night, you're there for fight week, so you kind of see everything behind the scenes. When someone's not fighting, they're normally there to attend the shows, or there maybe is a teammate, so you make good relationships with fighters. But then also you have people like your operations staff, production, you've got your social media teams, and you've got your cutmen, you've got people from different areas that only come out for certain events. And yeah, it's incredible. Obviously, I've been 4 years now, so I pretty much know everyone, and it's so nice to see people. And when you come back to an event, it feels like you've never left. I would say, when you're traveling with them as often as you do, they do become like a second family, and it's a really nice dynamic to have. I don't think I've got anyone in the Bellator promotion where I'm not a fan of, I don't get on with, because I do. Everyone's just amazing, and I couldn't fault any member of the team.
What sort of feelings and emotions do you go through then? If we take the likes of Leah, she's got a huge fight coming up. Of course, you'll be cage side for that, I'd imagine, working the show. What's it like, the emotions going through that, watching one of your good friends who you've met on this journey so far in there and competing?
I think with the fights, a lot of the time I try not to be biased. I don't think anyone kind of wants me to be too biased, but of course, when you're in the industry and you meet people and you build these friendships and relationships, of course you're going to be supporting one side more than the other. And with me, I love the sport myself. I don't just go there to work. I actually enjoy watching, and if I wasn't working, I'd be watching from home anyway. So it's tough because obviously I deal with it quite well. Nothing kind of it. I've seen it all. I've worked 4 years. I've seen everything happen. Nothing really shocks me anymore. But of course, when it's someone like Leah, where she's one of my really good friends, it is difficult. And if you remember our last fight in Ireland, I remember backstage everyone was like, "Louise, you are crazy." I was very emotional, and I was very supportive of Leah, because obviously you see your friends and you see people you're close to go through not just the fight night, it's the full training camp, it's weight cut, it's fight week, it's the family dynamic. Obviously, you know, Leah has a little girl, who she's a great mum too. So yeah, you want them to win for so many reasons, but it's the same on both ends. And I think, yeah, it's an emotional one. It definitely is.
You touched on, of course, not just being there to work, but to actually watch and enjoy the fights. And I know you yourself have now started training as well in multiple sort of disciplines. How
Yeah.
much of seeing the athletes compete and the dedication and the motivation they've got, how much has that led to sort of you want to compete or you want to train, sorry?
Yeah, honestly, I give them credit for it 100%. They are predominantly the main reason why I went into training in different styles within mixed martial arts. Obviously, it's always been something that's been on the TV since I was young. It's always been a sport that my family's enjoyed and I've watched. However, since getting into the promotion and working with the company, I think when you're there and you're behind the scenes, you almost wonder why some of the fighters put themselves through this. Like, it's such an emotional journey, and it's a tough job for anyone to have and keep up with. And I think when you watch it from firsthand, and what people don't always see on TV, you kind of think, why did they put themselves through such a grueling regime? Why did they have kind of this separation maybe from the family sometimes? And there was a lot of elements I couldn't really wrap my head around. So I thought, right, okay, let's give it a go. I'll try training, see why they love it so much. Went into training and I totally get it. It's addictive. I know why they love it. I know why they enjoy the sport. So yeah, it's been like a crazy journey. I've learned a lot about the sport through training, but then I also get a better understanding as to why the fighters and the athletes put themselves what they do through
Finally,
what they do.
finally then, look, as I mentioned at the start, Bellator ring girl, Monster Energy girl, published model now as well. For the rest of the year, what's your goals? And I mean, ultimately, was being a Bellator cage girl always the plan of being in the industry? What was the initial plan and what's the goals for the rest of the year?
Obviously, I love being within the industry. I would kind of like to go a little bit into journalism if I can. I like exploring the different avenues. I've just actually enrolled myself on a cutman course just to get an insight into that. Yeah, I like kind of being down with it all. But yeah, when it comes to Bellator, obviously carry on doing what I'm doing, working with the team, working with the fans. It's truly amazing and I'm very grateful for it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, get over into the States and try and work over there as well. That would be amazing if I could do that. But yeah, just keep working hard, obviously, stay within the industry, and hopefully get back out to Thailand training as well, because that was once in a lifetime experience and I'd love to do that again.
Yeah, it looked like a great time out there. Look, Louise, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers.